Who can it be knocking at my door? Go away. Don't come out round here no more. Can't you see that it's late at night? I'm very tired. I'm not feeling right. All I wish is to be alone. Stay away. Don't you invade my home. Best off if you hang outside. Don't come in. I'll only run and hide. Who can it be now? Dun, 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 dun. Who can it be now? Dun, 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 dun. Who can it be now? Dun, 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 dun. Who can it be now? And then it goes, who can it be knocking at my door? Make no sound. Tiptoe across the floor. If he'll knock all day. I'll be trapped. And I'll have to stay. I've done no harm, I keep to myself. There's nothing wrong with my state of mental health. I like it here with my childhood friend. Here they come, those feelings again. Who can it be now? 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 And then it used to go, oh, who can it be now? But I can't be bothered doing that bullshit. I can't be bothered doing it, man. Let me introduce this bullshit very first from the off. This is Invert the Y. Captain's log, starship log, whatever the bullshit log is these days, 12.1.5.9, and the USS Invert the Y is orbiting another planet of retrodom and bullshit. And today I got him back. And it's awesome that he's back here. We got Cyber Dunc.
Cyber Dunc.
Listen to the crowd roar.
Thank you.
Man, I really appreciate you coming back.
No worries.
It was the last couple of podcasts you did with us were awesome. I got good feedback from the two people that listened to it.
What'd your mum think?
She actually doesn't listen to this because she'd be ashamed, I think.
She'd be watching Red Dwarf now.
She should be. Actually, a couple of people that listened to that podcast where we talked about Red Dwarf said, oh, man, I can't believe you actually talked about that. Forgot about that show. Used to watch it years and years ago. And then, it's back. I still haven't seen the new stuff.
There's some good new stuff, but it's amazing. Like you walk around and someone goes, oh, yeah, I'm in the middle of watching Red Dwarf at the moment. Like it's amazing how many people watch it.
Yeah, and you know what? I went looking for my Dark Visions illustrated guide to the Amtrak Wars.
I found mine.
You found your Amtrak Wars one?
Yeah.
I found mine too. It's mint.
Yeah.
But it's tucked away up in the bookshelf up there. It's awesome, that thing. But you know what? It's I wouldn't pay the amount of money they're asking for it because it's like it's a little thin book. It's not very much to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it starts off pretty good, and then towards the end, you're like, what's all this stuff?
Yeah, what's all this shit? Let's get to the centerfold, which is fucking Clearwater. Where's Clearwater?
Why's she only got one page? That's what I want to know.
That's right. But how come the page is like either stuck together or it literally is the centerfold, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I think it's in the middle of the book.
Yeah.
And there's a whole big thing of Clearwater.
I think I ripped Cadillacs out. I was like, won't be needing that.
Fuck Cadillac. Yeah, no, I still I went back and I looked at some more stuff about Amtrak Wars after we did that podcast, and there's nothing new coming out. I think it's died in the water, that thing.
Yeah.
And the Red Dwarf stuff, I got to get back to it. I want to see what these people are going on about with this new season that they're talking about. It's actually not too bad, but it is what it is. But we wanted to talk about something else today. So topic of the show, we'll get straight into it. What makes a good game? Now, Cyber Dunc, you and I have been playing games for a long time, right? Yeah. And we've played lots of different games. And last time you were on here, you were saying that you've changed your tune on the games you want to play these days. You tend to play like driving simulator games, truck simulator or whatever it is.
It's weird. Like, there are really good games, and we can sit forever and talk about games and go, oh, it's a really good game, but there are games that you think, you get to the end, you're like, I think I want to start again and play it again and play it a bit differently, and there are games that you just keep on your computer installed just for one day when you feel like playing it.
Rainy day games,
that you're just happy to play over and over and over and over again, and I'm wondering what makes them so good, and what makes us keep going back to them. And, You know, there's some awesome games that you take like your Grand Theft Autos and things like that, and they're
Yep.
awesome. They're awesome, right? You know,
Yep.
I loved them. I love Vice City.
Is that your favourite?
No, I think San Andreas was my favorite.
That's interesting because for me, it's probably in the like modern world, open world GTAs that they did. San Andreas is the one that didn't do it for me.
Really, I like that LA gang stuff. You know, like
Okay.
you know, I like Boys in the Hood and all those.
Oh, I love
kind
that.
of, yeah,
That's a great movie too, man.
But so that kind of did it for me with the story.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. And so did 5. Like 5 did it for me.
I love 5.
You know, the Vice City story didn't. The story wasn't so much there,
but the setting was great with the 80s.
Yeah, the music and the setting and the
soundtrack.
Yeah, that was all awesome, right?
Yep.
And, you know, Liberty City didn't like it was interesting, but didn't do it for me that much. You know, had an all right story. You know, but 5 had a great story.
What about 4? What did you think of 4?
Which was 4?
4 was when what was his name? Bellic.
Oh, that's
Nico Bellic was.
That's the one I meant in Liberty City.
Oh, Liberty City. Yeah,
I don't think it was Liberty City, but that was that's what I was saying. Like, it was an all right story, decent story kind of thing, but I didn't find it as engaging as you know, San Andreas or 5. You know, 5 I found the story really engaging, but it's the kind of game that I'd play. And I might play it a bit after I've finished it, kind of thing. But you get to a point where there's not really any way to advance. You've finished all the story missions. So apart from going back to the start and doing it all again, you kind of seen it, done it. And I'm not gonna, fart ass around the map collecting every little collectible.
What were What were the collectibles?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
But there were things under the water, and like you had to Google them.
I'm trying to think what the collectibles were. Were they newspapers or something? No, pigeons.
Yeah,
they were pigeons, weren't they?
Yeah, different things.
You had to get the pigeons.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't really give a shit about.
No, I'm not like that either. I'm not I'm not one of those type of guys that goes chasing the platinum trophy or the maximum gamer points for a game where it's got like so many different collectibles you got to get. Like the classic example is Assassin's Creed 2. I don't know if you ever played it. And you could get basically every achievement in that game except the collectibles. You had to go get they used to be feathers. And you had to go around the city, and get all the feathers to get the maximum amount of gamer points or the platinum trophy. And I couldn't be bothered, man. I was like, fucking hell, I got better things to do than that bullshit.
But, tell me there's a better sword or a better gun or something hidden on the map somewhere.
You'll get it.
I'll find that. Yeah. I don't mind. So that's one of the elements. Like, I'm not going to just collect random shit for the sake of, a few points. And if it was collect 50 feathers around the map to go up a level or something like that, I'd be like, really? Like I'd find that painful.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, so I think there's got to be, that. I'll lose my voice. You might have to edit this one.
You know what? You've got the husky voice today. You know what it is? You're like that song. Betty Davis eyes. Betty Davis. She'll hold you. She'll control you. All the better times to hold you.
You do that pretty well.
I know.
You've been practicing that.
Yeah, I was going to actually do that as a song one day.
Is that your karaoke song?
I love karaoke.
Or is that
so
your bedroom?
much.
Is that your bedroom song?
It's my shower song. Yeah, I do in the shower. I feel somehow I'm magical.
You do a lot of bedroom things in the shower.
I do so many bedroom things. I do a lot of bedroom things in the shower. Yeah. But I go in the shower, right? And
I don't want to know.
And I feel that I've got this. No. So I'm not going down that path. I feel like I got like a Frank Sinatra voice all of a sudden in the shower.
It's the echo.
It's the echo. I feel I can record shit, right? But then I go down here and I start singing random bullshit songs on a podcast. And I'm like, fuck, I'm awful. I'm the worst song. But I love karaoke because I got into karaoke. And this is why I do the songs on a podcast is because when I was hanging out with Jason Relaxation, who, by the way, is not part of this bullshit podcast, he's become a suppressive personality, Cyber Dunc.
Could we...
like Pedro.
Does that mean we could actually number these podcasts now?
Fucking great point. This is episode number, I don't know what I'm up to.
45. Let's call it.
No, we've released 45. This could be 46.
Do you want to just declare it?
You know what? This is episode 46 of Invert the Y. Fuck you, Jason Relaxation. You don't have any control anymore.
This episode is called Because We Can.
That's right, because we can. You know what? The reign of Mussolini, the dictatorship that he used to run when he was doing all the editing and all that bullshit, is over, right? There was so many times that little prick would roll his eyes and go, no, I'll put that in the cookie jar and release it when I feel like it, like a fucking, a time capsule. Yeah. And then in like 100 years later, he'd release it, and it was so irrelevant. I don't know how many times I told that little prick, Rocket Russell and I would do a podcast on Formula One, which is very time specific, right? And I said to him, you need to release it. Oh, no, but we did one that was way funnier.
I think you should do one while the Formula One's on.
Oh, that's what Rocket Russell and I want to do. But we might miss out now because the season's basically over. But he wanted to do a live reaction to the Formula One.
I reckon you should.
We might do that next year, particularly for the Aussie GP. If we're not going to it, we'll do it live. But the time zone now is terrible. They're all in South America. Actually, tonight, as the time of this recording, is the US. So the race actually kicks off like at 6 a.m. Fuck that. Tomorrow morning.
We went to school with a kid that won the MotoGP in Phillip Island.
Mate, we went to school with a guy that went into. He was a Jeep.
He won. Yeah, that orange hair.
Yeah, what was his name?
Started with a G because he was sat next to me.
Started with G.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but he had orange hair.
Yes, didn't he come back later on? Wasn't he?
He lost his. I think he got caught marijuana and lost all these contract. All these.
Oh, he went insane in the membrane.
It went bad. I remember it. I was trying to talk him out of leaving school because he was leaving school to do motocross. I was like, you can't just leave school and do motocross.
Oh, I remember that kid. I remember that kid.
And he's like, nah, I'm going to leave school. He left as early as he possibly could to do motocross. I was like, you got to get, something. You got to get your certificate or something. And next I saw him, he was winning Phillip Island. I was like,
Yep.
I should have given him the don't do drugs speech instead.
No, I had the same conversation with another kid we went to school with. You probably can't remember him. I went to primary school with this guy. And back when we went to school, the earliest you could leave school was like 9 years. Year 9, but you had to be 15 years. No, you had to be 15 and 9 months.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't do it now. I think you've got to do at least year 10.
Yeah.
But you could actually leave before year 10.
That's what he did. Yeah,
this is what this other kid did, right? And I said to this guy, look, man, what are you saying? You're not even going to do the school certificate? Because I was like an idiot. I was like, I want to do the school certificate and I'm going to do the HSC and then I'm going to leave school and do uni and I'm going to be like, I want to get into management and what a fucking idiot.
Who wants to get into management?
What an idiot. Shit, I should have dropped it.
We knew nothing.
I knew nothing at all, right?
I should have learnt motocross.
And I should have done what this guy did, man. I tell you, so he says to me, I'm going to randomly one day, I'm leaving school. And I said, when? He goes, next week I turn 15 and 9 months and they'll let me leave school. I go, but that's before the school certificate. He goes, yeah, we can do it. And I said, well, what are you going to do? He goes, I've got a job as an apprentice doing tiling. And I said, okay, what's the game plan? He goes, well, I'll do tiling for a few years and then I'll get out of it and have my own business. Well, flash forward, I'd say 10 years later, this guy's hanging out with a fucking glamour. She was hot as fuck, this chick, right? That I think was his wife. And they had a couple of kids. And he's got his own business and he's a multi-millionaire. Who was the idiot? Me, right? Who went to uni for 6 years and achieved nothing? Me, right? I should have and even when I went to uni, I should have hung out with Bonga longer, right? Longer than I did. Right, and sat with Bonga and got insane in the membrane in Cypress Hill, fucking, and like be real, and sat with him and done nothing with my life. I would have been better off for it. Oh no, I had to be responsible. I had to be the guy that was, no, got to study, got to be. I was like that.
Who told us to do that? That's what I want to know.
Our parents. I blame them.
I don't even get that. My dad left school. He had to, but he left school very early, like 13 or something, to.
Yeah, it was a different time back then. Yeah, my mum. I think mum left school.
He could have gone. He could have gone a lot further. He could have gone to uni and all that kind of stuff, but yeah,
didn't want to do it.
Nah, couldn't really. Glasgow,
Oh yeah,
rough part.
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, let's
Anyway,
go.
let's go back to games.
Back to
That was a segue. That was a time warp. That was a time warp. So there's no Jason relaxation on this bullshit podcast. We might number it 46.
46.
But then again,
Because
it might upload it as 47 or 48. Who knows?
Because we can.
Because we can. Oh well, you know what? He's not here now. He's fucking gone.
Yeah.
He wants to be part time.
You reap what you sow.
That's right. Back to games.
Right.
So you're saying that you don't like, as a game, you don't like chasing the dragon, so to speak, in terms of like getting all the collectibles and all the bits. If it doesn't give you
some benefit in the game, yeah. And and you know, and something else like Grand Theft Auto or something like that.
Yep.
If I could go back to the beginning of the game and play differently, like a different style or a different character or something, you know, play in a different style.
Yep.
I'd happily do it. You know, but you know you're going to be led by the nose from story to story to story to story.
Yeah.
You know, so although it's fun, it's lost some of its luster,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that ability to build a character, you know, even if the body type isn't male or female, like I know that sort of irks you a bit there.
Oh no, no. Look, I'll tell you what's happened with that. Like, I think Cyberpunk 2077, when it comes out next year, they're talking about the ability to be as gender neutral as you possibly can be, and you can have like female parts smashed with male parts and all the rest of it. But in that particular scenario, while normally yes, exactly right. So normally that would irk me, that would piss me right off. But because it's Cyberpunk and because augmentation's a big thing in that universe, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
like the fact that you can have a male voice but have a female body, or vice versa, and do other things with the character, like the modification of your character. That kind of makes sense in that universe. I'm not upset by that. Really, no. I can dig it.
It honestly doesn't faze me. Like, you know, as long as you know, sometimes it doesn't make a difference, or and then you got a game like South Park that takes it the extra step.
The Stick of Truth.
No, the Fractured But Whole.
I played. Yes, I played that.
That one.
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
where you have to, you know, select your gender and all that kind of stuff, and you're answering all these questions, and you know, and if you're a male that still identifies with being a male, you're a cisgendered male, you know, and you do that, and then he rings your parents and he goes, I've just got, you know, your child sitting here, and he's just told me that he's a cisgendered male. And they're like, he's like, oh,
yeah, that's right.
Oh, so you're aware. He comes back, it's like, you're going to face a lot of prejudice in this world.
Yeah. No, my problem with that was, what I think you're picking up on, you might have heard it, because I know you do listen to our bullshit, and I appreciate it, I think it was the Division 2. I think it was that earlier on in the year, when I was playing that with the Drunken Monkey and Nervous Nathan, shout out to them, and I couldn't work out how to become a male character. Not that I cared that the default was female. I can play any gender. It doesn't worry me. I'm not that upset by that stuff. But what I couldn't work out was how to change it. And what it was all about is that they didn't refer to it as gender. They referred to it as body type. Yeah. And that pissed me off. Because what they're basically doing is hiding gender under the rug somewhere because they don't want to offend people. And I don't understand personally why gender's offensive. Yeah, but I grew up. You don't either, because we grew up in a different time, right, where things were very different. Like I don't know.
Well, now it's a bit like a belly button. You have to ask, do you have an innie or an outie, right? You know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But look, things were different for us back at school. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you can remember. There was a day, I think it was roughly when we were in Year 9. So I'm talking like 1990, roughly. There was a guy that was once known as Michael.
No, it'd be 88.
88? Yeah. Okay, yeah, Year 8. You remember this. He left the school as, his name was Michael, and he came back as Michelle.
Ooh,
do you remember that?
No.
I remember this clearly, and now when I looked back at it, it's really a shameful event where he left the school as identifying as male and then transitioned into female and then came back to school and all this. I remember he got mobbed in the quadrangle. Yeah. You remember the big grassy area we had at the front near the street?
Yeah.
And the kids basically mobbed this guy or her, and they followed her around the schoolyard, and everywhere she went, they just basically mobbed her. Right? I mean, like it was like they were throwing stones at her. That's how bad this was. And she never came back to school. Never came back to school again. But see, back in those days, we never saw that shit.
No.
That was the first time, and that was the last time, by the way, I ever saw that, where someone changed and transitioned into a different gender. Now it's different, but back then, that was the first time. And remember, we went to a country school, pretty much. It was pretty country townish. Bit different now, but back then, that was a very much country school.
Yeah. I got another story, but I might keep it offline.
I can always edit it out, man.
No, it's not about. Well, yeah, I remember just up the road from me, actually, someone's father killed himself, right? And the kids went to our school and basically shot himself in one of the son's rooms. And it came out later that the other son was gay. You know,
Fuck.
And I reckon that might have been what
caused it.
What caused it? Yeah, it was that kind of era.
It's a bit like American Beauty. You ever seen that?
Yeah, that's a disturbing movie.
Yeah, it's a bit like that in a lot of ways. Yeah. It was a different time back then. People don't get it, right? And so when I say stuff and they don't get why I don't compute easily what the modern world's throwing at me, it's because it was such a different fucking time. Yeah. Was it right or wrong? That's a different debate, but it was a different time completely, especially where we went to school. It was very isolated where we went to school.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Like
it was really country.
I mean, you're Italian. Right? You were one of the most exotic people we had in our year.
Mate, I was the most exotic, well, one of the most exotic people in the year because, you know, my background wasn't purely Anglo-Saxon. That was like, I was unique. And there was like, 3 or 4.
We had an Asian exchange student.
Mate, that blew everybody's mind. Remember that? He was the only Asian in the school, dude. And he came, and he was awesome. He's still on my Facebook.
He's a good kid, yeah.
Not that I use Facebook.
He's on my Facebook as well.
You know, but he came to the school. He was from Singapore, wasn't he? Or Malaysia. I get that wrong all the time. And I
remember his favourite saying is, "Real men don't use brakes."
That's right, he did too. He used to say that.
He's got a Subaru WRX now.
That's right.
He's in a part,
Yeah, he used to say real men don't use brakes. And he used to love aliens, and he'd do the alien knife thing.
Knife trick.
He could actually
was bloody good at that.
Mate, he used to
do it eyes closed.
Didn't he have a switchblade or something? He had like a butterfly knife.
Yeah, he had a knife for it. But
he had a knife.
But he could do it with his eyes closed.
Yeah, but that's the other thing about our school. He brought that knife into school.
I know.
And no one gave a fuck.
No.
It was the 80s, early 90s. Back then, no one gave a shit about anything, man.
I reckon a teacher would have just said, "Show me that knife trick."
Yeah, they did. Oh, I'm sure they did. Do you remember there was a teacher, right, that looked like one of the Blues Brothers? I'm not going to mention the name.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
I can't even remember his name at this. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I could tell you, but I won't say it. He
called me Demon Boy. that was his nickname for me, Demon Boy.
Why?
Because of the things I could do in chemistry. Basically, like my attention to detail was limited in chemistry, and we'd be doing something and I'd be producing a flame that was green, and everyone else would be producing a normal flame. You know, I was just doing some odd stuff in chemistry.
I got a story about chemistry.
Yeah,
I'm gonna roll the monkeys on this.
Okay, go for it.
Roll it, monkeys.
Let's do the time warp again.
So this stupid thing happened, right? The teacher that used to look like one of the Blues Brothers, he the only time he got angry at me, because other than that, he loved me because I love Star Trek, and he was a big Star Trek fan. But the only time I got into real trouble at school and he kicked me out of class was for this event. And I was a level below you. I think you were in A1 science. I was in like A2, I think. But anyway, we were doing it.
It was pretty good.
You were very smart, man. Not like me. I'm a dumb fuck. But we were doing that experiment where you put a balloon over a conical flask or something, and then you light the conical flask, and as the air gets hotter, the balloon bursts or something. But for some reason, we had cotton balls or we had cotton wool near to wipe up the condensation of the conical flask as the water got hot, and then the balloon would ultimately expand. And for some reason, me and another guy, who I can mention, let's just say he's the French Connection. You don't remember him? I'll tell you offline.
Okay.
Right.
You can edit it. That's what you tell me.
Oh, it's fucking hard. I'm getting lazy with my editing. The initials were JP.
Oh, yeah,
okay, right?
yeah,
JP, right? Yeah. So he and I started being dickheads, and we're like, you know what this is like? It's like someone giving birth because the balloon's coming out from the conical flask. And I'm like, yeah, man. And I grab the cotton balls and I start wiping up the condensation from the thing, going, just breathe, you can do it. Like this. And he's like, what else do you need, doctor? Oh, I need some more cotton balls, man, to wipe up this condensation. So the French Connection hands me these cotton balls, and I start mopping them up. But as I'm doing that, what I didn't realize is the cotton balls caught on fire from the Bunsen burner, right? So I literally had now at some point my hands full of flame, like because all the cotton balls I had, and I had like a handful of them, they all caught on fire. So my hands at one point were catching on fire. So what did I do? Natural instinct. I threw them down on the floor, and they went on. Because remember our school uniform used to be desert boots?
Oh, yeah.
They went on the desert boots. Well, those fuckers catch fire. I'm telling you now, right? They started catching fire, and my shoelaces caught fire on my desert boots. And I'm running around the chemistry lab, running around going, like this, and my boots are on fire, right? And then I stomp them out, and the French Connection's fanning it because he's a fucking idiot too. He starts fanning it, but the more he fans it, the more the desert boots catch a light. And we're running around, and he's laughing his ass off. Everybody that saw it's laughing their ass off. They were all laughing at us before because we thought it was an operation, right? And so I put my shoes out, and the Blues Brother teacher looks at me and goes, "Get out." And I go, why? I thought you'd think this was fucking funny. He's like, no, get out. You disrupted this class. You're done, mate. He goes, that was so dangerous and irresponsible. Yeah. I told you about that, those cotton balls catching fire and to be careful with it, but you disregarded that. Get out. Yeah. I'm like, oh, man, this is the first time I'm going to go to the principal's office. I was such a nerd. But then he came back in and he came out and he goes, look.
It was kind of funny.
It was kind of funny. Right, this is true. He says, it was kind of funny, but I have to show the other kids that what you did was wrong because I'll just do it too, right? And he goes, can you just stay out here for the rest of the period, make it look like it's really bad, and tell the other kids I went off at you? I really appreciate it. And I go, oh, okay, what's in it for me? He goes, I'll show you the latest season of The Next Generation. That's true. He says, if you do this for me, I'll show you the latest episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation, because he was a massive nerd.
He was a good guy.
He was a good guy, but you know what? He was he used to let us kids go to his house.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
And his wife would actually make us dinner and all that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And he'd say, oh, look, I'll help you study for chemistry for the HSC, and we'll hang out and we'll muck around and watch Star Trek, because all of us were nerds watching Star Trek. Yeah. But you know what? That wouldn't fly today.
No.
That would not fly today.
I think I went there once.
I went there maybe once or twice.
But it was for a party or something. It was for something, but it might have been something like that.
It was like a study group he had.
Yeah.
He actually said to us, look,
there was quite a lot of kids there though.
Yeah, it was, because everyone knew.
It wasn't like he invited you there privately or something like that.
No. He just said, look, if you guys want help with chemistry with your HSC,
I needed it.
I fucking failed it.
Oh jeez, that was useless.
Yeah, so was I. I failed it.
I don't know how I passed anything, to be honest.
You know what's weird for me? I failed HSC chemistry, but I passed uni chemistry for organic chemistry. I don't know how I passed that bullshit.
I still don't even know what it is.
Like I really don't. You know, I've still got the textbooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't part with them because I got them brand new.
Yeah.
And what I used to love about uni was you used to go there and go, all right, I bought all these textbooks. Next year I'll sell them at the co-op bookshop. And they'd say, oh, no, we've changed we've changed the subject matter and that you have to use this year's edition.
Yeah.
Oh, you prick. So the book I got I can't sell now.
Yeah.
So I've got a pile of fucking books up there that no one will actually ever use.
Well, I can one-up that. I had notebooks at university. I wasn't big on notes, right? So basically I went to uni with good intentions and bought all these notebooks.
Yeah.
I'd write the name of the subject.
Yeah.
I'd write half a page, and then next semester I'd write the name of a new subject. I'd scrub out the old one. I'd rip out the first page, and then carry on. I was using the same notebooks for 6-7 years.
Jesus Christ! I used to have.
I don't do notes.
I've still got all my uni notes up there too.
Really?
I don't know why. I need to chuck shit out, but I've still got them all up there for some reason. I used to think that someday I'll need them. Well, right now there's no chance I'll need them, mate. Like because. You know, I used to think, when I go into that industry and I work in that industry, I might actually...
someone might care.
Someone might give a shit.
Does.
No one gave a fuck. I remember being such a smart ass and thinking I was hot shit. I got my first job out of uni.
I remember you thinking that too.
Yeah, I was, mate. How hot shit was I on my Gemini?
Oh, wow.
With its pinstripes.
Well, compared to my Peugeot, you were like...
Well, your Peugeot used to spin out like doing 5 kilometres an hour. That's how fucking cool you were.
Probably should have checked the tyres.
I think there was something wrong with those tyres. But I used to think when I get to work, right, out of uni, and I got my first job there, I worked in a QC lab doing like quality control stuff on raw materials. And I remember turning to the R&D manager one day going, look, I can really help us out because I've got the Oxoid manual. And what the Oxoid manual was like this Bible for microbiology stuff.
Yeah, we all did the
bacteria
same thing.
shit.
I had one for computers as well.
Yeah, right. So I'm like, and they're like, oh, really? And I'm like, I'm fucking cool, man. I know all about microbiology, you know.
Yeah.
I'm the shit, right? Because I've just graduated from uni.
I had algorithms in C, which I carried from country to country with me.
So they just said to me, oh, that's great, you've got that, but they go, but how old is it? I go, oh, it's probably a year old, maybe 2 years old. This is back then. Now it's like fucking 30 years old. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, that's great. And then one of them was such a smart ass. She walked over to the counter in the laboratory and she pulled out the latest edition. She goes, we happen to get these for free every year. I'm like, oh, okay, so I can't help you. No, you can't. Go back to smelling bullshit raw materials. Graduate, shithead. I hated the first year out of uni was like the kick in the balls, man. It was like you think you're so hot shit, right? And you know what? Then when you go to the workplace and you've been working for a while, you spend a couple of years in the workplace and then these young uni kids come in, you go, and they're the same as what you were. They're like bright-eyed, bushy tail, like tails wagging. Oh, I know everything.
Yeah.
You don't know shit. And I remember being in my job for like 10 years. Young graduates would come out of uni and they'd be working their first year or a couple of years in the workplace. Yeah. And they'd be like, oh, have you ever considered doing this? And I'd be like, yeah, back in fucking 2005. And it would be like 2012.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, no, but I at uni, we used to do this. I go, mate, you don't learn shit at uni, mate.
I know.
All the books that you've read at uni mean dick.
Until you start work that people start giving you proper advice. Like I remember when I was flying, when they moved me to the US and I was flying at exactly the same time as the CEO of the company.
Yeah.
Right? So he met me at the airport and everything, and he said to me, you know, you're going to fly a lot for business. He said, just remember this. Check you got your passport. Check you got a credit card. And he said, and every time you go through a checkpoint, every time you pick up your bags, everything you do, you know, going through it, check you got your passport, check you got your credit card. He said, because if you got your passport and your credit card, you can sort pretty much any problem, right? Yeah. But if you don't, you're fucked.
Yeah, exactly right.
So he said, once you got those, just lie back and relax because there's not a fucking thing you can do. You're gonna get. He said you're gonna get held over places. You're gonna, you know, planes are gonna be cancelled, late, delayed. Yep. There's nothing. You got no control over that stuff whatsoever. But he said that's all you need to worry about. Yeah. And
you know, Dick, when you come out of uni, mate, you know nothing. All you've got is the basic toolkit to do something with that, right? You got basic. What it says to an employer is, you've got discipline enough to do the 3-4
Exactly.
years or whatever
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
to go through all the bullshit they threw at
That's
you.
it.
And you've got a piece of paper to say you're disciplined. That's
it.
all it is,
That's
right?
it.
And you've got basic toolkits that you can use.
And you kind of got the ability to learn.
That's all it is, man.
Yep.
That's all it is.
That's it.
Because then 1 or 2 years after uni, you forget everything you fucking learnt.
Yeah.
Not one thing you retain.
No.
Unless you're like in a particular field or like a science or something like that. But I did humanities.
Yeah.
You don't know, mate.
And you go
Nothing.
and you go into different jobs and people teach you something else. I remember
Yep.
I went into a sales job, right? And it was my job. I was technical sales. And it was my job to go into meetings, big deals, like multi-million-dollar deals and stuff like that. And I'd be with a sales guy, and my job to answer all the technical questions, and he answers all the other stuff. And my boss gave me the best advice. He said, "Your job's to answer really tough questions, right? You know." And he said, "So you need some techniques because people are going to ask you stuff that you're like, oh shit,
Yep.
you went and asked that."
You know
right?
what?
And sorry, what?
No, sorry, you go on.
You know, and he goes, "So this is what I do." He says, "Someone asked me a really, really tough question, and I know they're asking it as they're asking it, right?" He says, "I just pick a word in what they're saying, and I start talking about that word, right, or just talking." But he said, "I'm just on autopilot. I'm just talking, right?"
Yeah.
He said, "I know I'm not answering their question." He said, "I'm just talking because I'm using that time to think about what the hell I'm going to say."
Yeah, exactly.
And he said, and I talk and I see the glazed look going over there. They're confused. They don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just thinking about what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And he said, and then I go, "But I don't think I answered your question." And they say, "No, I was actually asking this, you know, can you explain a bit more?" And he said, "I know perfectly well what they're asking, right? I'm just buying more time as they explain more what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I have an answer for them." But I don't think I answered your question.
No, you didn't answer the question, no. But I remember the last year of uni that I did for the humanities degree, the commerce degree, I decided I'd do a bit of HR. But I should have done, actually, in hindsight, I should have done HR as a proper degree. I've always thought that because when I ended up working towards the end there, I was like always doing HR stuff. And I remember one time when I had people responsibility, all the shit you learn in those HR textbooks goes out the window, man. You don't know shit. And I remember the times that I had to make some really tough decisions that I didn't particularly want to do and I didn't like to do, but I had to do them because that was my responsibility. I remember the HR manager coming up to me and shout out to him. He used to say to me, "You didn't learn that in the HR 101 textbook, did you?" I go, "No, mate. All that shit that it's all it was basic stuff.
Yeah.
It's just enough to get you in the front door, but the actual getting your hands dirty with all that stuff, you don't know anything until you actually do it.
It's not,
unfortunately,
it's not wisdom.
No, it's not.
You know, you don't get sort of gems of wisdom.
No,
typically from a book.
And how many people did we meet over the years that were really academically smart, but they had no street smart? So you stick them in like a position where they've got responsibilities for people or something like this, and they couldn't handle it because they didn't have any street smarts, but they were super, super smart people, right? And then you had someone like me that wasn't really the smartest person around at all, but okay, I knew you were bullshitting me, you know, like I knew you were full of shit as well, mate. You know what I mean? But that was the only thing I had. But yeah, sometimes the smartest people aren't always the best to do certain things.
Well, that's why they often get pigeonholed, you know?
Yeah, they do.
Sit and do this.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right.
And do it really well.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, Dan.
Back to good games. What makes a good game? That was a sidetrack.
Yeah, so where were we?
We were talking, okay, well, you know what I think we're establishing here, Cyber Dunc, is what don't we like in a game? So, because to answer the question of what makes a good game,
we're finding the line down the middle and we're putting things either side, you know?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you what I don't like.
Okay.
You know, what I don't, and this is what's starting to be a bit of a current trend. I don't necessarily like open worlds because I think they slow games down. They slow particularly if they're story-driven games, they slow the pacing of the game down. And now what the big trend is in gaming is hub worlds. So you got an open world, but then you got a hub world. And I'll give you an example. I don't know if you've played it. You might not have, but Borderlands 3, I'm playing that at the moment.
Okay.
And
That's playing too. Well,
like,
I put it down.
Okay, so you know what Borderlands is. So it's primarily an open world, but in Borderlands 3, it's still an open world, but then it's got this hub world, right? Which is basically a spaceship that you go back to and do some shit there, and then you go back to a planet and do stuff there.
That was kind of in 2 as well. It was just a city, wasn't it? There was
exactly. But it's more prevalent here in 3, and I don't like it because I think it just slows everything down. I don't hate it. I just don't particularly like it. And, they did that in Wolfenstein 2, The New Order, the New Colossus. That was a game where they had a hub world as well. That was like the submarine. But the rest of the game was a bit more partly linear, and you can actually have a bit of a flow in terms of like running and gunning and all that sort of stuff. So I tend to like games now that have a flow. They've got to have a flow. Like they're either got to be linear and they're fast paced, or they make some kind of sense and they've got a story, like a very heavily story driven game, but they're more linear so that story continues on in a nice flow. But if there's an open world and it's trying to tell me a story, like Rage 2, makes no fucking sense because like by the time I get to the juicy bit, that was like the last juicy bit I had was like 2 or 3 hours ago because you've given me this big open world to explore, and I haven't actually seen anything cool for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah,
that was my experience with Rage 2, and the story made no sense anyway. But
I mean, really different styles of games as well, and they've got elements that we like and elements that we don't like. So, you like Dishonored, right?
I didn't like Dishonored.
I bought recently Dishonored and Dishonored 2 because they were on sale, know, and I was actually 2 was on my wish list forever, and I thought, okay, I'm going to play 1 because 1 got such good reviews as well, and I started playing it, and I was enjoying it.
1's okay, 2 I didn't like much.
1 I was enjoying, but I wasn't enjoying it so much that I had to get back to it, kind of thing, and I have kind of put that down. Recently, I got a lot of games recently. I got Deus Ex Mankind Revisited.
Yeah, you did say that last time you were here.
Couldn't get into it.
I'm like you.
Couldn't get into it.
I'm like you. I like the premise.
Yeah,
I really like the. I love the world.
I really want to like it.
Same. I'm the same as you. Yeah.
And some of it was. Sometimes games at the beginning they're too complicated.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? I've got all these options and there's all this stuff and it's just too complicated to get into straight away. I want to just get started, but I want to advance at a nice rate as well. I played a game called I don't know, probably PC only. Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Oh no, it's on the consoles as well. I've downloaded it on the Xbox.
I thought that was an absolutely awesome game.
Most people do that.
It was a gorgeous world. It was set in Czech Republic. It was
historically accurate, isn't it? Or tries to be.
Yeah, well, roughly speaking, sort of historically accurate, but it just gorgeous world. Good stories, good sort of side quests and missions and things like that. Not just repetitive.
Yep.
Not just keep doing the same little side quests and missions and things like that. Great combat system, and there's not a lot of games out there that have a great melee combat system. Yep. Do you know what I mean? They really struggle with swords and shields and even it makes archery good and things like that. But it's a game that you can. It's heavily story focused, so there is a main story thing that you progress quite at a really nice rate through, but you can sort of take your character in different directions as well. And so it's a great. I think that'd be a top pick for me of recent games.
But why did you like it though?
Well, a lot of it was I had some control over my character. like
Right.
how it advanced, what he got good at. What
Yep.
am I going to use? Am I going to be good at archery, or am I going to be good at long swords? Am I going to be good? There was that combat sort of focus.
Yep.
Am I going to be good at sort of commerce and and that kind of stuff? So there's elements of that.
Yep.
So it did that medieval thing really well, and it wasn't. There were potions and stuff. There were potions you could make, but it was hard to make them. Like it was actually, you had to sit and like grind things. It was quite a complex thing for making potions. That was probably a downfall. Well, not a downfall because you could pretty much ignore it. But that was kind of a unnecessary part, I think. To an extent.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that it didn't have magic, it didn't have any of that kind of stuff, but it was still just able to be an awesome game. You felt at risk in the game. You could lose a fight quite easily, and I think there's got to be that challenge there. And you felt like you were getting better. So combat wasn't just you've gained skill in this. You actually felt like you got better at fighting.
Right.
And you felt like you could continue to get better. As your character got better at fighting, you felt like you got better at fighting as well.
So it goes back to your point that you feel a good game is one where you feel like you can progress as a character. You're not just some...
I think for me, it comes down to there's something more I don't know about this game. Like I'll keep playing game if I think there's still I can get better. I can get better at this game. Like I put a lot of hours into Rainbow Six Siege, right? Which was first person shooter, but I'm not a big into PvP, right? So we played Terrorist Hunt. I had a group of friends that played Terrorist Hunt, which was against the AI, right? Most of the players of that game were player versus player, and they only used against the AI for training. So we just constantly played against the AI. But it was the kind of game that you just felt you can get better and better and better. You can put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into that game, and every time you start the game, you have a character that the actual character in the game doesn't get better. Like it's not like you unlock better guns. It's not like you unlock this or that or whatever. Every round, basically, you start with a base character, and it's not like it wasn't pay to win or any. There was none of that. It was pure skill.
Yeah.
The only way to get better with that game was to have better tactics, to know your maps, to work as a team, to all that kind of stuff. So that sucks you in, like when it sucks me in, to a game. The same, we've played a lot of Armour recently, Armour 3.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've
right?
not played it, no.
Hundreds and hundreds of hours into Armour 3. And if you look back to, and it's tough, like it's really, it's a pretty unforgiving game, right? But you get better. When we started playing it, we were like, I'm dying and I don't even know where I'm getting shot from. Like where, it was kind of, you're on a big map.
Yeah.
It's like, how the hell did I just die? Where is the guy? And then you start to be able to hear the crack and the thud of the bullet, and you can connect. Oh, that must be coming from over there, or or whatever. Right. You start to get good at. As soon as something happens, you get cover, you get down. Like you get a lot better at and it's nothing to do with the character in the game or anything like that. It's you can get better. You can improve your skill at it, and then we recently thought, let's go back and play Recon Wildlands.
Right? Oh yeah, I quite like that. Yep.
Yeah, and originally, I wasn't like, we played it and it was an interesting story and it was all right combat, but we weren't that we weren't that enamored with it, and went back to it, and I was like, bloody hell, we're so good at this now, having played hundreds of hours of Armour. Like, this is nothing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I liked Wildlands because I liked the setting. The setting was like, goes back to what a good game potentially can be, is that I liked the setting on Wildlands.
Yeah.
It was interesting to me, and how it impressed me how big that map was.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
But the thing that I particularly liked was that it was obviously a 4-player co-op game if you wanted to play it that way. With friends, and that's what I liked.
Yeah,
that's what made a good game. And it was a very much cooperative experience.
Yes, and we've always played that as well. Yeah,
yeah. That's what makes a good game for me, is that I like the cooperative nature of games. Yeah. That's why I like Borderlands, because it lets me play with up to like a couple of friends, and you have a good time, and it's fairly equal.
Yeah,
like it can be very equal, and it's shared into if you progress the same amount with each other,
and you're not with the same group of people.
And you're not too far ahead with whoever else is playing with you. Is that it's actually a very shared experience?
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
that's what I liked about Wildlands.
And I think that makes a good game as well. And Siege was a bit like that as well, because it was we're in we're in a team.
Yeah.
Right? So you're getting better at helping each other, and you're giving people tips and tricks and and all that. Yeah, kind of thing as well, and but Recon, when we first played it, it was just dicking around. It was do you know what I mean? Like there was no cohesion. It was crashing car. Like
the thing that I tried to play Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
Back in the day when it first came out, and for whatever reason, it never really stuck with me. But my understanding of it is that that's one of the more like ultimate cooperative experiences, because you got to really rely on each other to make sure you don't get that you don't lose.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
It's basically a win versus lose.
The player versus player.
Yeah. So that's what it is. Whereas Wildlands was it's me and 3 other guys that are my friends. I know them, and if one of them fucks up, well, it's not like a big drama. Well, I can just go and revive him.
Yeah.
But that was more of a story campaign.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But I like that. And so is Borderlands too. Yeah. I hear Breakpoint's not very good though.
Yeah.
The new Ghost Recon.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no! Yeah, it's got terrible reviews.
No, it's not. It's tanking.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But yeah. So I guess I like different things about different games. I was Rainbow Six. Yeah, it was the cooperative thing. It was the fact that I could get better and better, and the fact that you felt like your physical skills were improving.
They made a difference to you. They made a difference to the character, and it reflected the.
And it just seemed open ended. It just seemed like I could just get better and better and better and better at this game if I wanted to spend the time on it. Armour's a bit like that as well. So those games are good in that way, because you can just and Armour has got just thousands of mods and stuff as well, right? So you can play in the Vietnam War, you can do, or whatever you want. There's mods for it.
Yeah.
You can build your own stuff and that. So it's kind of good in that way. But yeah, there's other games that are just like really addictive and can't almost put your finger on why.
What's an example? Have you got an example?
Like I quite like little management games as well. Have you played Game Dev Tycoon?
No.
That's quite good. You start in your garage, and you sort of pick a title so you name your game, and then you say it's going to be this genre, and it's it's going to be on this console or whatever, and blah blah blah. And you start in the 80s, so there's only like a couple of things available, and you develop your game, and you get some skills and stuff, and you launch your game, and you get some money from it, and then you do something else, and there's all these different, but it's this huge matrix of like what you can build and what makes a good game and all that kind of. So it's basically about the game industry, and then you get an office and you hire staff and you do all this kind of stuff.
I always I always got addicted to back in the day, like the civilizations.
I got
and Sim City. I used to love. Like I got addicted to that so much.
I think I because I don't play console anymore, but I did for when I was in the UK. I played a lot of mainly console, like PlayStation.
Yeah.
And I played Civ. I don't know. It must have been 5.
I think it's Civ Revolution, because I think Civ 6 is coming out now on console, or is it Civ 5? But they had Civilization Revolution back in the PS3 days and the Xbox 360 days.
Okay, yeah, it might have been.
It was a very watered down Civilization experience, but it still had the same basics of Civilization on the PC.
Yeah.
I still love that game.
Yeah,
because
it's the kind of game you can go back and start again and play it again.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you know what? And it goes back to progression. Like, I just thought of it now. We both played it back in the day, Centurion. And we talked about Centurion before, where the idea was to conquer the map of Europe, you know, obviously in the Roman Empire times. And to do that, you had to use diplomacy, you had to use brute force, all these sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, you knew what your progression was. You could see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? And I guess the theme of all of this is that the makings of a decent game is that you've got some progression opportunities, but while you've got that progression opportunity, you've actually can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And I hate games where if there is progression, it shuts you down pretty quickly and makes it very difficult to get through that progression, or you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. Or I've gone from level 5 to level 10 in a game, whatever it is, if it's an RPG, and I see no difference. I'm still getting beat down. You know what I mean? The gear that I get is not great. It's not exciting. Yeah. There's a lot of examples of games like that kind of shut you down pretty early.
Yeah. There's a game, I imagine it's PC only, but it's Mount and Blade Warband.
Oh, that'd definitely be for nerds on PC for sure.
Yeah. So same sort of thing. It's kind of fictional world, medieval, no magic kind of thing. It's all mainly top-down map kind of thing. But it's RPG. Like, you start a character and, you know, all different backgrounds and histories and things like that. And you... so you only a few, for like strength, agility, intelligence, charisma kind of thing, but bunch of skills and some weapon skills. But you can be really different characters in it. You know, you can make a guy that's just a horse archer. You know, you can make a guy that's good with swords. You can make a guy that's good at trading. You know, you can make a guy that's like a noble and good at talking to people, because you pick, you recruit like an army around you, you know, and you take them where you go and you trade and you do, you know, all different stuff.
Yep.
You don't have to go into battle. You know, you can send, it's actually really good battle as well, you know, almost like a bit like Kingdom Come Deliverance, but you've got soldiers around you and stuff like that. So good combat mechanics.
I've always wanted to play Kingdom Come Deliverance, and like I said, I've downloaded it. But what kind of scares me off it a bit is the combat system, because isn't it you're basically waving your sword in a pretty realistic motion, and you've got to block as well with your shield, and it's quite
but it kind of learn,
right?
You kind of they guide you through it quite well, and in the beginning, you're not really, you're slow. Like, your character's slow. Like, You know, so basically, as your character's ability to get better at it increases, you're kind of getting your hang of it as well, and it's really well aligned. If you know what I mean. So, you know, you probably find your character's not up to doing, like, in the beginning, you'd want to be reacting faster than your character's actually able to react, if that makes sense. You're probably a bit ahead of the curve than your character. And then it gets better and better and better as you get better.
So did you ever like the Souls games?
Never played them.
Yeah, because I'm listening to you now saying I like progression, I like some challenge when I get that progression, and it's rewarding when I actually get further along in the game. And I know I try so much to play Souls games and I suck so bad, but I'm just thinking maybe you should try a Souls game because I think that'd be up your alley now from what I'm hearing.
But like I like all kinds. I like all kinds of games. You know, like I like management games. I like combat games like that. I like first person shooters. I like XCOM. You know, and games.
Yeah, well, see again, XCOM was okay. So XCOM's another example of progression.
Yeah,
because XCOM, if you didn't have research done in a certain time, it was game over. I'm talking like the original XCOM Enemy Unknown, right?
Yeah,
and
the sequel were pretty much line with that.
Pretty much the same, right? And so, but the thing is, when you got some new research done and you got new guns and you had new armor, you could see the difference.
Yeah.
Right. Now, mind you, as you went along, you got more difficult enemies too to counteract that. But it was rewarding going, oh, my scientists have just researched that armor. Now I'm going to give it to my colonel. And now all of a sudden that armor makes him float. Yeah. He floats in air and he can go up on the roof really easy of a building.
And it's not just progression. It's like the game changes. You know, it's
totally.
Like,
yeah.
Now we're flying.
Now we're flying.
Now we're 3D. Now we've got bloody things that can destroy walls.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, the best thing about that game
and psionics. You know, now we've got psionics.
Yeah. Now we've got mind control. But you know that game, like right at the start of it, it's awesome because you start literally with pistols and rifles, right? And then when you first research and manufacture your first laser pistol. It's like, oh, now I'm in business, man.
Yeah.
And you might only have enough resources to manufacture one laser pistol. So you give it to like your best guy and you protect that guy to the nth degree because you don't want him, because you give him like the best armor, the best weapons. But that's the ultimate form of progression. Yeah. And and that's why you get addicted to that shit. Yeah. Because like you're like, okay, well, where's my next bit of armor that's even better than what I made,
and that's what this warband's a bit like, because it's like, oh shit, I need better armor, you know. And then you start recruiting not just random soldiers, you're recruiting actual sort of NPCs to your party,
right?
That you can equip. You know, say you're saying, oh yeah, right, I'll give this bit of thing to him, and they're advancing as well. You're like, oh yeah, well, I don't want to have these skills. That's not my area of focus. So I'll get this guy to increase in that area, kind of thing. So the party increases in skills,
right? Yeah.
And things. And it's funny because that game, I remember downloading like a precursor to it.
This is XCOM?
No, this is Mount and Blade.
Okay, yeah.
I have to say Mount and Blade, because otherwise it sounds like Mountain Blade.
Mountain Blade.
But I remember downloading a precursor to it a long time ago and sort of going, this should be a good game. I really like it. And it was just buggy as hell. And it was shit graphics.
Yep.
And I think it was even like back when they did bloody demos, like I think it was like a demo version or something like that. And then so this now seems as like the first release that's actually robust, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
the graphics are still shit.
Yeah,
the graphics are still 10 years behind where other games are, really.
But what's the hook? The hook's progression.
The hooks, the progression. I mean, I've only had it this week, probably.
Yeah.
I've got 3 characters. I was like, I want to start again and see what it's like playing as a different type of character.
Well, you know what? That's what I'm feeling now with the Outer Worlds, which just came out. It's a new Obsidian game that they released. These are the guys that did Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
And Fallout New Vegas is one of my favorite RPGs ever. It's a bit of a, you're one of many people that say that, because Fallout New Vegas was very, very popular. But the Outer Worlds is very similar to New Vegas. It looks a little bit prettier because obviously the hardware's a lot better now.
Is it Fallout Outer Worlds, or is it?
No, it's not it's not Fallout, because they don't have the license for it.
Okay.
But it's basically Fallout, man.
Okay.
Like I'm telling you now, if you
What's it called? Just Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds, yeah.
Okay.
Get it, man. I really rate it. But what the hook for me is on that game, firstly, the story's interesting. The dialogue's very, very well written. It's pretty well voice acted. It's quite funny in a lot of parts. It's a little bit. It's not the most original concept in the world where it says, "Oh well, you're fighting evil corporations," which are tribal. It's very tribal. Again, like New Vegas, it's tribal. So you got different and this is what I love about a game, where you can make decisions that affect the game's outcome. I love that shit, right? So what I loved about New Vegas was that you had different factions or tribes in that world, and at some point there was a crossroads, and you had to make a decision, and you knew as soon as you made that decision, it was going to go bad for your relationship with the other factions, but one faction would love you, right?
Yeah.
And I remember with New Vegas, I must have had like 4 saves, right, on the Xbox 360, because I knew as soon as I went to the Yes Man, who was the character that you had to make a decision with, shit was going down, right? And so what I love about the Outer Worlds so far, I'm not that far into it, probably about 7-8 hours into it. It's got that hook. It's got some very minor morality shit that's thrown into it. Like, you can make a decision and it's going to piss this person off and make this other person happy. And I love that hook. So you've got progression with RPG elements, which is very noticeable. You get better gear. You got better speech abilities, all that stuff, typical RPG stuff. So nice progression. But I love the morality shit. I'm going to make a decision that's going to affect this group of people or this person. Right. And that's why I always liked games like, I don't know if you ever played it because it was on the PS3, Heavy Rain. I loved that game. It was more of an interactive movie because I love stories and I love story-driven games, and I never had a problem with walking simulators that were like really story-driven or interactive movies like Heavy Rain, because that was a classic game where if you made a decision, you knew it was going to affect the outcome of the game in a big way, right? And that was a game too. The first time I played it, I hadn't played the PS3 for ages, so my muscle memory with the controller was pretty bad. I couldn't remember where the square was. I couldn't remember where the triangle was. So, it does have a lot of quick time events.
I don't know.
Right, which I know you don't like, and a lot of people don't, but I didn't mind it because I'd missed I'd pressed the wrong button at the wrong time, and I'd failed the quick time event. But what that meant was I lost, out of the 4 characters that were available, I lost 3 of them, permadeath. And so I quite like the idea of permadeath. Like, you've got high stakes here, right? So the stakes are real. Like, if you fuck this up, your character's dead, man. You need to either reload your last save or, like in Heavy Rain, you just progress with one other character that's still alive. And I like that, right?
Well, I was playing Mountain Blade. It's a new name. Yeah, I've just coined
What's it called?
No, Mount and Blade.
Mount and Blade.
This one's Warband, but I was playing it before I came here, and I had the timer set. I was like, when I had to get ready and leave the house, and and it went off, and I thought, oh, just 10 more minutes. And
so you're addicted to it because of the hook,
and I'm like,
right? Because of the progression or the.
And yesterday I got up and I started playing it, and I was like, bloody hell, like this is the first time in a long time when I've just sat and played a game. Like for too many hours, right? And wanted to play more of it. But with regards to like why that is, it's exactly what you were sort of saying. Like there is morality, right? There is, I actually have one of my saves is the character's called Hawthorne, and one of the saves is called Bad Hawthorne. I was like, this is the point where I think I'm going bad, right?
Exactly.
And I'm going to save that because I don't know how that affects the game, right? And to an extent, I know like the permadeath thing, I don't necessarily want to go back to the very beginning and have to do all the shit that I had to do in the very beginning because I want to kind of see what's next, right, in the game. So this kind of balances that. Like, you can get wiped out. And you'll more than, like, in a battle, all your troops will get wiped out and you'll be taken prisoner and you'll be kept prisoner for a while. And then you'll kind of be released, or you'll escape, or you'll get released or something like that. So it's a major setback, but it's not permadeath kind of thing. And but the same, there's morality. There's the different kingdoms who are having wars, and and there's intrigue and all kinds of stuff like that. And you can get involved or not get involved or whatever. There's bandits roaming around looting villages, and there's heaps. There's just tons going on in the world around you.
Yeah.
You know, and I this morning joined. Like King offered me as I joined as a mercenary band for this King, and I was like, well, I don't normally loot villages and things like that, but I can go into the enemy territory and loot there. Shit, you know. And I thought, and I headed down there, and I thought, before I go and do this, I'll just save the game. And I saved the game without realizing that there was an enemy force bigger than mine right next to me,
right,
faster than me.
Yeah.
And then then it got attacked. And I was like, oh shit! Like, what am I going to do now? Because my save, I only had one save. I was like, if this thing's going to kill me, right? And I had the fight, and sure enough, got wiped out and reloaded my save. Couldn't get away. Had to fight again. But I was like, shit! I have to change my tactics. So but when you actually get into the battle, started trying different tactics to win the fight, and actually in the end won the fight. You know, so there's just a lot to it, and I think games that have got a lot of depth but don't throw it all in your face right in the beginning
at the start,
you know, are good. You know, because games that are just you don't feel like there's any more to it apart from collecting feathers. Like really. You know, but when you think there's other things I could explore, other styles of playing this game that I can explore, then I'll keep going back to it. You know, that's one thing. Yeah, but story-driven games are great, but I'll tend not to go over them and over them. Like, it doesn't mean they're not a great game; just means their replayability goes down.
Oh, once you know what the story outcome is, I can understand that. Like I love The Last of Us, but I've only played it once. You know, but I played it because I love the story. You know, I'll probably replay it before the second one comes out.
Last of Us?
It's on the PS3/PS4.
Okay.
And it's a I can't even say the word post-apocalyptic.
Easy for you to say.
I can't say it, man. I got a brain tumor. Post-apocalyptic.
No.
Fuck. Damn it.
Apocalyptic?
That's the word.
Got there in
the end, man. World where it's a bit like zombies, but they've been there's basically a disease where fungus has affected people and their brains, and they've gone crazy.
Yeah.
The premise is really cool, but the story, I'm not going to go over the story, but it's very in depth and it's very well written, and that's for me the key with games in general. If a story, firstly, has some kind of meaning to it, but is really well written, whether it's funny or it's serious, I don't really mind as long as it's well written.
Yeah.
It's really well voice acted. I think voice acting is probably really at times underappreciated because you could have a really well written game. It could be the hook could be there with progression, right? But if the voice acting is awful, it ruins the game atmosphere so badly. So, you know,
just the dialogue. It doesn't even have to be voice.
Well, that's the writing.
Yeah.
So if the dialogue's terrible and the voice acting's terrible, then the atmosphere the game's trying to set up is awful, right? And so, you know, I don't really even mind about the premise so much, because let's be real here. A lot of games are very similar. Like I can't believe that Dark Souls is. I mean, I know why it's popular, but there's a whole genre now. Like pretty much every game at some point is like, oh, it's Dark Souls inspired. Well, okay, so they're not. The originality's not there, but maybe that game's got a great hook in terms of its progression. It's got well written dialogue. It's got great voice acting. It's atmospheric in a certain way that even though it's copying its original game, like the original Dark Souls game, I'm just using that as an example. That can also create a great game, a good game. So for me, I like games that have got a fairly interesting story. They've got well written dialogue, pretty good voice acting, and then they've got a level of progression. That's why I'm enjoying the Outer Worlds at the moment, because I'm a sucker for Fallout. Right?
Yeah.
And I was a real sucker for Fallout New Vegas, like a lot of other people were, because that game, while the graphics weren't mind-blowing and it was janky, and the Outer Worlds at times is janky too, with its combat system, I really loved the premise, the stakes were real. There was morality in some way, shape, or form. There were decisions you had to make which you knew were going to affect the game, and you knew that. And the voice acting was great.
Yeah,
so it set it up really, really well. So I could overlook the jankiness and the relatively, primitive graphics.
Yeah,
I could overlook all of that shit.
Yeah,
But
I think, you're more of a console player, right? And
I'm a peasant.
Yeah, and I'm
Sassy Sahini has told me this. Shout out to her.
But the console is limited in a little way in terms of the kind of games.
Absolutely. They can never play a World of Warcraft, for example.
We can never play a World of Warcraft, but games like that are actually really good games. Darkest. Ever heard of Darkest Dungeon?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's not going to go on the console, right? Is it?
I think it might have.
Yeah,
I think it might have.
But there's
I think it has, man.
But there's kind of lots of little games that are just
the biggest ones that you could say straight away are like MMOs. MMOs are not likely to come to a console, right? Because the controls are very limited, right? I'm having a problem today. An MMO really needs a keyboard and a mouse, right? And so you can't really translate that easily to a controller, right? Unless in the future, I know Microsoft does it with a keyboard and mouse. You can hook up a keyboard and mouse on an Xbox One, but you really can't do that at the present with a PlayStation 4. You can do it, but it doesn't really work properly as advertised. So you're limited into what you can do with it. But there are always going to be games on a PC that are going to be exclusive to the PC because just by the nature of the game in terms of its control.
And the other thing about the consoles, and this might have changed because I don't really haven't been in that.
You're a PC elitist now.
Yeah. I mean, I always was a PC guy, and then when I was overseas, I just didn't have a PC for it. But my impression, which may be wrong, is that the consoles are sort of the games for it. They're going to be bigger budget games, typically, aren't they?
If you're talking about first-party games from Microsoft or Sony,
but the store you get
well, you know what? Okay, so I had this discussion with Sassy Sahini. Shout out to her. The reason why I play on console is because the games that I like are more story-driven games.
That's what I'm trying.
They tend to be on a console, right? Not to say that story-driven games don't exist on the PC or don't get translated to the PC. They do, but the games that I like happen to have more of a home on a console.
Yeah,
that's what I like.
Well, they're probably available on the PC, but you don't need that. They're the games you focus on, and they can be played on a console. So what do you need a PC for?
Well, that's what I was saying to her. I don't need the extra power that the PC offers. I'm happy enough with what I've got.
Yeah.
With an Xbox One or Xbox One X or a PS4 Pro, I'm happy with that.
But what I'm sort of saying is there's games like Darkest Dungeon, which I wouldn't think would necessarily go onto a console very well because it's more management. It's more like you're managing a group of adventurers kind of thing. But what I was going to say is nothing pisses me off more than a good game that's just too hard.
Yeah, I hate that shit.
A good game which is just too hard.
So you're going to be blown away. Sorry, Cyber Dunc. Platforms for Darkest Dungeon, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch. Fuck. Windows, iOS, Xbox One, PlayStation Vita, Linux. I'm not making this up.
It's a popular game.
Yeah, iOS. It's on iOS as well.
So that's a game, right? That's got lots of advancement along, it's a really good game. Great reviews. Everyone loves it. I love it.
Yeah.
I just get to a point and I can't get any further.
Yeah.
And every time I think, I might have a game of Darkest Dungeon, I may as well start again.
But this is what frustrates me. Like
and the new XCOM game.
Yeah, it frustrates the shit out of me. Yeah.
I played it and I started playing it and I was like, I can't get any further. And it wasn't. And I couldn't even unpause the game without a critical problem.
Yeah.
It was like,
that frustrated me too. And this is what doesn't make a good game is frustrating games, right?
Yeah.
Games that have really poor controls, I can't stand it. I know if you're on PC, you're mainly playing with keyboard and mouse and you don't have that issue. Not always, but sometimes you do.
well, you have the issue that you don't have a controller, maybe.
Or there's that. But when you are like playing on console and you're primarily using controllers and the controls of the game itself are shit, it's game over for me. I can't stand that, right? But I get frustrated with games like Dark Souls because I really want to play it because I love the premise, I love the atmosphere, right? I love the way it looks, but I'm so shit. It's my problem. It's not the game. It's me that I just can't do it, right? I wish I could do it, but I get frustrated with that game. I'm like, fuck me, I can't even because it doesn't have any difficulty settings, and I respect that. I don't want that to change. I'm not saying that should change. But I'm like, man, I wish I could play this game and be one of those like pros that you see on Twitch when you're not watching the maid lady, right? And you're able to play these games and go, fuck, I'm as good as this guy. I'm kind of envious, right? But that's more of a me problem. But there are many games out there that XCOM 2 is a really good example of that, where I call it bullshit factor. There was so much bullshit.
That's the latest one.
That's the latest one. There's so much bullshit in that game.
You honestly can't
No.
do anything without it, without something. You say, I want to go here, and it goes, yeah, go there. And as soon as you start moving there, it says, something popped up here you need to attend to.
Yep.
You couldn't attend to anything.
No. You know what my favourite is on that? We talked about it briefly last time, Cyber Dunc. My favourite on the latest XCOM game is you start the game off, you've got very limited abilities.
Yeah.
Because you haven't done any research. You're fairly new in the game. But the enemies you face have got like 1 billion movement. They can move from one side of the map to the other side.
You die in an instant.
And you die in an instant.
Yeah.
Then they got when they've done with that, then they've got mind control. You're fucked. And then all of your squad members get wiped out.
Yeah.
And see, this is the whole point. The fun factor fades away from me. It did it for me too.
They threw it. They threw everything at you way too early in that game.
That's right.
It was a complete cock up. Like I gave that game up really early.
Same here. I know
really
Pedro
early.
beat it, but Pedro's a freak.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. But I wished I was like him and played that game because I really like XCOM.
Yeah.
I played the first.
I loved.
Reboot.
Oh man, I loved them all. And the first reboot.
The first reboot, I played
well.
it. I played it and finished it, right? But the second one, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with that.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking that I just had something on the tip of my tongue and I've forgotten what it was. But I don't like games that are frustrating. And XCOM 2 was a really frustrating game.
Yeah.
It did my head in.
Something like Darkest Dungeon. I like it, and I like the premise, and I want to be able to progress in it, and but I just get to a point that you guys just get wiped out.
Yeah,
they get wiped out, or you go in and they get you don't just get damage, you get like insanity kind of thing, and then they have to go and have a relax. Yeah, so you can't take them into the next mission, but it's this kind of management game kind of thing to an extent. Yeah. But it just gets to the point you're like it's too hard. Yeah. And
you know what it is there? It's like you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And we're going back to where we started was if I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel with a game and I'm at the start of the game and already it's doing this shit to me. Yeah. Like it's like XCOM 2 was throwing out all these things at me already and it's my first mission. I'm like 30 minutes into this game. I'm like, I'm done. Yep. Right? That to me, that doesn't make a good game. Right?
So good games need to have a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, let's summarize this bitch, right? Let's summarize it, Cyberdunc.
Progression.
Good game, right? So a good game needs progression. So you can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Story game needs a good story.
Story game needs a good story and a good premise and atmosphere, and it needs good dialogue and good voice acting. Yeah. I like personally games that give you morality. There's a morality system. Like if you whatever you do is going to affect the outcome of the game in some way, shape, or form. I personally like that.
Different approaches to the game. You don't have to take this not a non-linear story necessarily.
Yes. Different. You can do
different style of play.
So as an example, if I talk about the Outer Worlds for 2 seconds, I can do any mission that I've come across whenever I feel like it. It doesn't say, oh, no, you've got to do this first before you get to over here. And this is why I hated games like Just Cause. Shout out to the Drunken Monkey. He's just had a wonderful experience with Just Cause. He hated it, the latest one, Just Cause 4. But I didn't like Just Cause 3 because it said, well, in order for you to get to the next main mission and see what the story's got to say, you have to do all this busy work, all this bullshit, right? I hate that shit. Yeah. I fucking don't want it, right?
Assassin's Creed's bad for busy work.
It is now with Odyssey. Yeah. And I didn't mind Origins so much because I loved ancient Egypt as a premise.
You know what? For me, Assassin's Creed is a nice walk around a historic city now.
It is now, yeah. You're right.
I loved walking around London. I loved walking around Paris.
Yep.
You know, that's what Assassin's Creed is for me.
You know what Assassin's Creed has become? I said this ages ago on a really early podcast. It's become the holiday trip advisor every year.
For the historical holiday.
Yeah, so this year, guys, we're going to Egypt. Oh, next year we're going to Greece.
But fair dues, they do a bloody good job of it.
Yeah, they do. But what I'm saying is that I kind of want them to go back to where they were. I don't necessarily like these open worlds because, again, they slow the game down, right? You're going from point A to point B, but by the time you get from point A to point B, it's like 2 or 3 hours down the line or down the road, and you forgot what the good juicy bits were 2 or 3 hours ago. And Odyssey I fucking hated because of the busy work. I hated that game so much because, and it frustrated me because I loved the premise. I loved ancient Greece, right? And I'm like, well, okay, I just want to concentrate on the main story. Oh, you can't do that because you're like 50 levels below where you should be because every time you're leveled, right, it would always like a carrot on a stick. It'd just dangle it in front of you and go, oh, no, you're really not ready yet to go to the main mission. Oh, you really, really can't do it. And you're like, fuck off. A game like The Witcher 3, which I really liked, it did recommend where you should be. In order to do a quest, but it was always pretty fair. And the best thing about that particular RPG was that all the side missions that you did to level up to get to the main quest lines were really, really interesting in their own right. You had really interesting characters, and so you didn't mind doing it, right? But Assassin's Creed Odyssey was absolutely pathetic with that shit because the side quests and all that stuff was so boring. Yeah. Right, and it was all busy work. Yeah. Fuck, if I want to work, I'll go get a real job in the real world. You know what I mean? I don't want to do real work in a game, you know? And so that's the whole thing is that if I find that games have got busy work and they're actually making me think that this is just real life, fuck that. And I've said this before, like, I don't like games that take away the fun factor. So they put in some realism because they go, oh, we want you to get a feeling of tension and a feeling of being scared or whatever it is. But the fun factor goes away. Yeah. Like Days Gone, which came out earlier this year, and I only got like halfway through it, pissed me the fuck off because there was a motorbike that you had, right? And literally, Cyber Dunc, you drive it from point A to point B, and within 5 minutes, it ran out of petrol. And I'm not kidding you. One mission said that I had to get from point A to point B, and it was 6 kilometers, right? And I had a full tank of petrol. And after 6 kilometers, I had a quarter of a tank. Fuck off. What motorbike do you know?
You buy a motorbike because they're cheap on petrol and they go on.
Mate, no. But what the game was trying to make you do was get off the motorbike and look for petrol and in the process scare you with get attacked by zombies and give you that tension. But there's better ways of doing it, right? And that pissed me off because what they were trying to do was add a little bit of realism into the game, but they sacrificed the fun factor. So let's go back to our list. We need progression. We want good controls. We want good story. We want good voice acting and dialogue.
If they're side quests, they either need to be interesting and different. Individual side quests. Kingdom Come Deliverance is a great example of that. Lots of individual different side quests. There are some repetitive side quests, but it's at least we got a camp of bandits over here causing us grief. Can you please go deal with them? Right. And it's a decent challenge combat to deal with them kind of thing. So so get back to your list.
So progression, story, voice acting, good writing, dialogue. don't fuck the fun factor up.
No.
Right? Because I
challenging, but not
challenging,
impossible, but not frustrating.
But not frustrating, and not take my fun factor away from me, because I'm playing a game for a reason. I want to escape this bullshit, boring, dying fucking planet that we're on, right? I don't want the real world in my video games, folks.
No.
And I see so many games now go, oh, we've got some realism. I don't want realism. Fuck that. This is why I play a game. I play a game to get rid of that shit, right? So don't take away my fun factor, and give me decent control systems. I don't want bad, sloppy controls, because that's the end of the game. The control is the most important thing. Whether it's on a PC and I'm playing with keyboard and mouse, or I'm playing on a console because I'm a peasant with my controller, that's what I want. I want decent, tight controls, not sloppy, bullshitty ones. Yeah. You all right?
Yeah.
And also, too, I could probably add in the performance factor, too. Don't give me buggy, terrible frame rate games, like load screens that take 20 minutes between I get to one point to another point.
That's becoming a lot less of an issue, like that, as well.
On the PC side, it does, because
you
you got SSDs. I mean, it is a bit of a problem on the consoles, because they're getting
what? SSDs? No,
M2.
That's my backup drives.
Oh, man. Well, there you go. Aren't you the fancy fucking pants? Don't you think you're the PC elitist?
SSDs. No. That's where I put the slow, like the bulky, slow stuff.
My PC's getting old. It's only got an SSD.
Okay.
So I don't have this. What is it?
M2s, I think.
M2. Isn't that the fucking freeway to get from here to North Sydney?
They actually plug directly onto the motherboard.
Well, you know what? Sony might have the last laugh on you fuck, because they've got some proprietary bullshit SSD that they've got that reckons that it's faster than an M2.
Then I'll get one and put it in.
Are you a fancy pants?
Because you can do that on a PC.
Mate, I had this debate. Look, I would have actually had the debate with you and Sassy Sahini, right, about PC versus console, but I'm not going to revisit it again, because I admit...
they both got their benefits.
Well, that's it. They've got their pluses and minuses. But at the end of the day, I said to her, and I stand by it, the PC is superior. I know it is.
I've got a PlayStation somewhere in the garage, a PlayStation 4, and I've considered getting it out and plugging it in. Mate, there's a lot of great exclusive games on that thing that if you got into the PlayStation 4 family now, you would have a blast. I wanted,
because there's so many games.
I wanted to get it for Red Dead Redemption.
But it's coming to the PC now.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah.
I'm so concerned that, like, I've been hanging out for Cyberpunk for God knows how long. I'm a bit concerned that it's not going to be all that.
Let me tell you about Red Dead Redemption 2. It's shit.
It's shit.
Well, it's not shit. I shouldn't say that. Technically, it's unbelievable, and when it makes its way to the PC, it's going to look It's going to look amazing, right? Because it looked amazing on a humble PS4 and an Xbox One. But the problem with, I say, everything we just said about what makes a good game, Red Dead Redemption 2 ignored quite a bit of it. Not all of it, because Red Dead Redemption 2 was really well written. It had amazing voice acting. Technically, it was an absolute marvel for the hardware that they were playing with. But the problem was the controls were absolutely fucking abhorrent. That's a word you haven't heard me say for a while. Abhorrent, right? Disgusting controls, right? Pathetic. And the pacing of that game, and that's the other thing too. We should add to the list pacing. The pacing of Red Dead Redemption 2 was really, really poor. It was so slow that it wasn't fun. And the problem was they had this wonderfully large map, and by the time you got from one point to the other point to get the next juicy bit of the story, you forgot what the fuck was going on. And at the end of the day, the story really, to me, didn't do much for the legacy of that game, because it's a prequel. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is a prequel of Red Dead Redemption, and I really don't think it did much to set that story up for Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption is way, way better than RDR2.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're going to bring Red Dead Redemption to the PC, because currently it's only on the consoles, the old consoles too, by the way.
PS3, was it?
PS3 and Xbox 360. But I think it's a way better game than Red Dead Redemption 2.
Is there another Grand Theft Auto on its way?
Rockstar are being very, very quiet. I think the rumors are pointing towards a Bully 2. You ever play Bully on... Mate, Bully's great. Bully's a really, I think it was a PS2 era game. So the world's very, very small compared to your Red Deads and your Grand Theft Autos. But I think the premise is great, but it probably wouldn't fly today because it's based in a private school and it's about shenanigans amongst the students. And it's pretty risky.
Badong.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, right? But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but you're not going to get a really meaty, juicy story like you get from Red Dead, right? Yeah. I still think out of all the Rockstar games, Red Dead Redemption #1 is the best game I've ever done. It was an
awesome game. Yeah.
And then, I know people shit on Grand Theft Auto 5. I had a lot of fun with it.
I did too. Yeah. I loved it. I loved Grand Theft Auto 5. Not enough to play it online. I think I logged in and went to play it online and just idiots killed me in instance. And
See,
I thought,
this is my problem and concern with Rockstar. My personal opinion is that they're concentrating way too much on their online shit, and
they're making tons of money on it.
Exactly. And so what should have really happened, and what I wanted to see, but I know why they didn't do it, is that they put the online component for Red Dead Redemption 2 on, which hasn't really been received well, but we never got DLC for 5, Grand Theft Auto 5. We never got like Ballad of Gay Tony like we got in Grand Theft Auto 4. Right, we never got those DLCs for Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah. And you know why? It's because the online component made so much money to them. Yeah. So they put all their resources into that shit, right? And so when it comes to Red Dead Redemption 2, we're not likely to get anything from that either, right? Do I really want it after playing the main game? No, because the main game, I didn't really dig it. I went through the motions of it because it was a Rockstar game, and I wanted to play another Rockstar game and play another Red Dead Redemption game. But by the end of it, I was like, you know what? I'll never play that game again. Yeah. But I've played Red Dead Redemption a couple of times.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, I've played it at least twice on an Xbox system, the one and the 360, and then I actually played it on the PS3. Yeah. So I don't see myself ever playing Red Dead Redemption 2 ever again.
So I don't know if I'm just getting fussier or but when I'm looking at buying a game now, like I can generally tell if I'm going to like it beforehand, you know. And I was hanging out to get the game Vampire, Vampire.
It's not bad, but you know what? I played it,
and I was hanging out for it. And then I watched gameplay stuff, and I was like, you know what? There's going to be stuff in there that just annoys the hell out of me.
So you know what the problem with Vampire was for me? The premise was great. The story was actually great. The voice acting wasn't bad. It just was very unexciting. The actual gameplay, the actual gameplay wasn't exciting at all. Yeah. It plotted. It really just plotted.
It looked repetitive.
Yeah, it was very repetitive. And I got to like the 3/4 mark of that game and put it down. I didn't continue with it. But
it was on my wish list. Yeah. And then it got released, and then I was waiting for it to come down in price, and then it came down in price, and I looked at gameplay and I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Not getting it.
See, I'm going to use an example. If you pull out your PS4 and dust it off and play it, one game you should play, which is exclusive to PS4, is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay.
And the reason why this is a good game is because the premise is great, the story's amazing, the voice acting's great, the controls are good, the combat's great, and it's original in a lot of ways too with what it's trying to do. I mean, robot dinosaurs.
Who doesn't like
like fucking robot dinosaurs, yo? That's a great game. For those, and there's a progression system as well. There's a slight RPG element to it.
Do you know why a T-Rex is so grumpy?
No. He's small hands. He can't be...
Can't reach his dick.
He can't reach his dick to jerk off. Do you think we covered it all, just Cyber Dunc?
I think we've done pretty good.
I think we've done fucking great too. I'm very happy with us. I think it's time to go get some lunch.
Do you think we sort of missed Retro?
You mean Jason Relaxation?
Jason Relaxation.
Not at all. Actually, did we miss you, Jason Relaxation?
I missed him, but we sort of made it through.
We made it through, and this is the whole point with this little prick. you don't even know he's there. He's just.
But he keeps you on track, doesn't
He does. But I've replaced him with a sock puppet. So he's because now. So I'll ask.
You're not wearing it on
no,
your hands,
no,
Dan,
no, I'm not like Mr. Flibble, but I'll act it like Mr. Flibble, right?
Yeah.
Do you think I did a good job today, Jason? Relaxation. I think you were funny and cute, Retro Dan, and Cyber Dunc was very informative. I replaced a little prick with a sock puppet.
Well, thanks for having me back, Retro Dan.
Thank you, Cyber Dunc, for being you. You're cool. Thanks for coming back.
And check out Kingdom Come
I've
Deliverance.
done it. That was on Game Pass on the Xbox One, and I've actually downloaded it. It's one of my games to play later on.
Oh, and get Pedro on it.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't picked it up because he loves that type of shit.
Yeah, he'll get lost in it.
Well, he's hooked right now on the Outer Worlds. We both are actually because that's
PC as well.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it's on Game Pass on the PC, right? Which is the Microsoft Game Pass.
So it's not on Steam.
Is it on Steam? That's a good question, man.
I'll check it out.
Check it out. I off the top of my head, I'm not sure. It's definitely on Game. You can play it for $1 because if you sign up to Game Pass, right, their subscription service, it's on part of their subscription service, so you can get it for, and you can. I think it's $1 for 1 month, and then you just cancel it, dude, if you want. But you can play it for $1. I don't know if it's gone to Epic or it's gone to Steam. I haven't. I haven't taken
Epic a bit strange.
Look,
I've picked up a few. Like I've downloaded it, registered, and every week I look at their free games and I go, yeah, I'll like take that. I haven't installed any of them.
You know what it is? I'm glad they're there because it keeps Steam on their toes.
Yeah.
I know that people. I've not used Epic, but I know people say that the feature sets is really bad.
The feature set to find games is abysmal.
Yeah, I hear it's terrible.
Just to browse and search games, like I don't even get it.
Yeah,
like,
I hear it's terrible, but you know what? So was Steam back in the day, and so things like that will probably be improved. But you need competition for Steam because Valve will take the piss if they're not already. They pretty much are, and so I'm kind of glad that they're there to keep Valve on their toes. Because Valve have really done nothing for anybody, I don't think. They're just basically a portal to play games. I used to talk to Pedro about this quite a bit because he was a big fan of this, but all their summer sales used to be amazing. Even I'd jump on their summer sales and like download a game here and there. But then their summer sales at the present are shit. They're shit. They're absolute trash because they're taking the piss.
And the problem is that, you see all these like massive discounts. Well, you're massively discounting the price of the game when it released 10 years ago.
Exactly.
You're not massively reducing what the game's worth now.
Exactly.
Right? 90% off, like, original retail price. Come on.
Yeah. That's what I mean. They're taking the piss. But there was a time...
Still not bad prices on some stuff.
Yeah, it is. But there was a time when their summer sales made every other platform look like silly. Their summer sales were amazing. And now they're not great. I've spoken to Pedro a lot about it. There was a time then all the things on my wish list would come up and say it's now on discount or something like this. I rarely get any kind of emails from Steam now. And it's not because I don't use it. I've got like hundreds of games on my wish list, but they don't happen to be on discount. Fuck me, and I've given up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm glad that Epic's there. I know the feature set's not what you want, but I'm sure it'll improve.
Yeah, well, it can't get worse.
No, and you remember
the
back
only way is up.
That's right, progression, baby.
Progression.
But you know what? People used to bitch about Steam 2 back in the day. Yeah. When it first came on.
Yeah.
And I remember when I installed Half-Life 2, I was like, "What the fuck's this Steam shit?" And everyone hated it.
I didn't even know what it was. I hadn't installed it.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm like, I got Half-Life 2. I bought a graphics card, and it came with a voucher for Half-Life 2. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna install Half-Life 2, and I followed the instructions. I had to install this thing called fucking Steam, and I hated it, and everyone else did. But now everyone loves Steam. They fucking defend it. Steam's the best thing ever. that's ever been created.
Yeah.
Everyone's forgotten, man. I'm telling you, they have.
Yeah.
And you know what? Flash forward 5-10 years from now, Cyber Dunc, fucking Epic will be wonderful too.
Buy shares.
Nah. Sell, man.
Sell.
Shares
in Epic.
Maybe. Who knows?
Who knows?
I don't know, man. I can't give you stock market advice. I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
I'm living in poverty.
Should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up. Cyber Dunc, thank you for coming in.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Sock Puppet, Jason Relaxation, thank you for being you. Don't go with changing. Thank you, Retro Dan. You were very informative today and cute and funny. Thank you, Sock Puppet, Jason Relaxation. Thank you for the 2 people that have been listening to this bullshit podcast. Thank you, Dad, for letting you choose your garage. I'm sorry I read it about good games. I don't know what they are. Games these days are getting fucking worse and worse. It's a rabbit hole I can't get out of. Every time I play a game, I get the fucking shits because it's either got bugs, it's got bad frame rates, or it's got poor controls. It's something that needs to be improved on, and I fucking can't cope with it because I want to escape the real world. It shits me. In the real world, everyone calls me a fat fucking loser and nerd, but in my game, I'm a hero. And next week,
always be a hero to me. That sounded so believable.
It did. And next week, my little heroes will have some more retro and more bullshit. But until then, you can roll it, you fucking monkeys.